So we can record?
Yeah, I think we can start recording. Let's call the meeting to order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we have a quorum. All right, and we are recording. Okay, sorry, I didn't see that. All right, so welcome to the Fairfax County History Commission meeting for Wednesday, November 2nd. We do not have, the only commissioner excused that I'm aware of is Jordan Tannenbaum, who may be joining us later, but who otherwise was delayed in New York because of a train that wasn't functioning. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically, the History Commission needs to make certain findings for the record. Oops, nope, sorry, I need to first, yes. This commission needs to make certain findings for the record to evidence our compliance with all applicable laws. These motions address this compliance. First, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and your location. I ask that each of you pay attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Mary Lipsey.
Mary Lipsey of Braddock District.
Gretchen Bulova.
Gretchen Bulova, Braddock District as well.
Carol Herrick.
Carol Herrick, Drainsville District.
Subi Medi.
Subi Medi, Drainsville District. I'm calling from Livingston, Virginia.
Elise Ruff Murray.
Elise Murray, Vienna.
Okay. Barbara Nape.
Barbara Nafe, Reston, Hunter Mill District.
Ann Stuntz.
Ann Stuntz, Hunter Mill District.
Steve Sherman.
Yes, Steve Sherman representing Franconia in the Franconia District.
Okay. Phyllis Walker Ford.
Phyllis Walker Ford, Franconia District, Clifton, Virginia.
Barbara Peters.
Barbara Peters, Annandale, Virginia, Mason District.
Ann Barnes.
Ann Barnes, Mount Vernon District.
Sally Lyons.
Sally Lyons, Colchester, Mount Vernon District.
Tammy Manarino.
Tammy Manarino, Alexandria, Mount Vernon District.
Sue Kovac Schumann.
Sue Kovac Schumann, Providence District, Mantua.
Janae Lindner.
Janae Lindner, Springfield District, Fairfax.
Okay. As I said, Jordan was expecting to be late. I don't think he has arrived. Jordan Tannenbaum. All right.
What about Esther?
Esther, you're next. Esther McCullough.
Esther McCullough, Sully District.
Robert Beach. Bob, was that you responding? Okay, perhaps he has not signed in yet. Lynn Garvey Hodge.
Lynn Garvey Hodge at large.
Okay.
Springfield in Springfield District.
Thank you. And David Meyer. David's not with us yet. All right. Okay. So now at this point, I will pass the virtual gavel to Lynn Garvey Hodge so that I may make the appropriate motions. So Lynn, here is your virtual gavel. Oh, you can't see me giving it off to you. Sorry. I move that the History Commission certify for the record that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board.
I second the motion.
Okay, Tammy, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So passed.
Okay. Second, I move that the History Commission certify that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this commission and the public to physically attend this meeting in person, and the usual procedures cannot be implemented safely or practically. As a result, I further move that the Fairfax County History Commission conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated video and audio conferencing line, and that the public may access this meeting by calling 1-571-429-5982 and entering access code 403-322-160#.
I second the motion.
Any oppositions? Abstains? All in favor?
Aye.
Ooh, I think Bob Beach
That
is
sounds
back.
like Bob Beach.
Yes.
Bob, have you joined us?
I think so. I think he has. Well, I don't see his initials though.
I think that was Steve Sherman.
Just Steve
Oh,
Schaefer's
yeah.
a little bit deeper
Yeah.
tonight, I think.
He's got a bit of a cold. He's got a cold.
Yes. Finally, I move that the History Commission certify that the matters on its agenda today relate to the COVID-19 emergency itself, are necessary for continuity in the Fairfax County government, and or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of the History Commission's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities.
I second the motion.
Any?
Can I ask a question?
A question?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Who's asking?
It's
Lynn?
Janae.
Janae.
It's Janae. I was just wondering, as I recall, 2 months ago, didn't you say we would be not doing this anymore? Has something changed?
So Janae, we can bring that up later on in the agenda.
Oh,
We can
that's not here?
discuss-
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. So
Thanks.
we'll just,
Just wondered.
yeah, it's not directly pertinent to the motion on the floor. So
we have a motion?
yeah, there is a
Yeah.
motion that was made, and we were in the process of voting. So Lynn, if you can continue that vote.
Yeah. Okay. So we did have a second, correct?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No oppositions or abstentions. Okay. So carried.
Okay. So I don't usually have chairman's remarks, but tonight I am going to sort of, do a gentle reminder that serving on the History Commission is similar but different than many of the roles that we are used to playing in our work for nonprofits, in our professions, or even as citizens. And even though we are just volunteers, we are actually members and part of the Fairfax County government. And that makes us more visible than we're used to in our other roles. And so it's just a reminder that we need to be very mindful that we speak, when we speak about the commission, its activities or its members, that we don't say things that, however unintentionally, reflect on the commission or on our colleagues, particularly that reflect in a negative way. So these comments have a way of rippling outside of the context in which they are made. And there's a, that multiplies the potential for misperceptions and misunderstandings. And Mary and Barbara recently experienced a circumstance where comments were shared in a public meeting, and they wanted to share their comments and reflections about this. There's no motion that's going to be, there's no action here. It's just commentary. So Mary, did you want to go first? Mary Lipsey.
You're muted, Mary.
You're muted, Mary, hon.
I got you. I thought I'd left it on. Okay. I'd like to explain that I received an invitation from a fellow history commissioner to a meeting of a spiritual community group coming to the table, which was to meet virtually on Monday, October 10th at 7 p.m. I was unable to attend. Later, I heard from an acquaintance who was very upset with what the fellow commissioner had shared during the meeting. It was explained to me that the commissioner had said that 2 history commissioners were leaving the History Commission, Mary Lipsey and Barbara Nave. We were named by name, and as a result, the History Commission would be falling apart. I conferred with another attendee who heard a sort of different story that said that the commissioners had said that the History Commission would be changing paths, and who knows what that path would be in the future. Either way, I was shocked, hurt, angry, and embarrassed. I've looked at the invitation since then and realized that I knew 11 of the invitees on the list. I was hurt and angry that others heard that explained that my intention to retire would have any effect on the History Commission. I was embarrassed that so many people I know might have heard this. I felt that the words of the fellow commissioner were inappropriate and very much unprofessional. And I just wanted to share that with people. I'm not taking any questions or anything like that, but just I thought that it, as a whole, the History Commission needed to hear this.
And Barbara?
Thank you. Since my name was included, I asked if I could have an opportunity to say a few things. I think it's a good teaching moment and learning moment. And regardless of the intent, when we are in a public place, it's the perception that counts. And it was difficult to know whether the falling apart was because of Mary and me and what we had done, or whether it was because we were leaving. Both of it's ridiculous, and that's not the case. I think that the fact that it happened, it simply to me was a violation of professional ethics. And of the understood and accepted protocols that we recognize and respect. All of those that are privileged to be appointed to the commission. That's just the case. And having been here 18 years, but beyond that, as you all know, I was the Park Authority. I filled Amy's role, and I was the Park Authority representative to the History Commission from 1983 on until I retired in 2002. And there is never a question of changing a path all of that time, and we continue on in that we follow the charter that we have been given, and that's what we do. And so I was very distressed. I was angry actually, because the local history community is so intertwined and so interconnected, and it's just the information it's ridiculous and it's false, but it still presents something. And I would also say to everyone, we have to remember the only commissioner that speaks for the commission as a whole is the chair. We can talk about what our particular projects are. We can express our enthusiasm, as those of us involved in the CNI and the AHI have done. But we are talking from our perspective about the commission. You do not speak for the commission unless you're chair. So those are the thoughts I wanted to share with everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. And I just want to underscore the idea that this is a teaching and learning moment. This isn't meant
right.
in any way as anything other than that, just so that everyone is aware and everyone is mindful that, because of our positions, we do attract a little bit more attention and than we might otherwise, and that things ripple around and get distorted as they go through different, I guess they get reported and relayed. So it's really important to be mindful, and also, to be mindful that that it's clear that, this commission votes on what its positions are and its statements are. And I know that also that we're a large group, and so that sometimes it's hard to know what's going on. feel free to ask and get clarity that way rather than sort of make assumptions about what's happening. We do have a coincidence, and it is just a coincidence, that 3 very valued members of our commission have decided to retire. They've been working long and hard, and they just need to step back a little bit, and that's really all that's going on right now. So there's, the commission is well and healthy and looking forward to, including new members. With that, I'm going to move on to a motion for accepting our minutes.
I move we accept the minutes of the October History Commission meeting and pay the clerk.
Oh, yes, thank you. Paying the clerk.
This is Esther.
Hi.
I second the motion.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any abstentions or objections?
I have
Now
a,
we can-
when you're done, I just want to say the minutes I don't see them in the share file, although I know we've received them twice.
You are, I believe you are correct, and they did not make it to the share file, and they should be there.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. That was relevant to what we're doing. But we have received them. They should have been posted. They are. Trying to think if they're posted on the website or not, but anyway, so any objections or abstentions? Did you want that registered? Any objections? Say any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. And we will try and correct that, get that onto the share file as soon as possible. That should be part of our public record. Treasurer's report. Sue, I did not see that either. Did I miss it?
Well, no, I sent it to Laura and asked if she could post it. I couldn't get into the share file.
Neither could I.
Yep.
Yeah, I was having difficulty with it as well.
Half of it has worked and half of it has not worked. I'm wondering if it's from people outside the county that it's not working for. So give me 2 shakes and I will make sure everything is uploaded right now.
Okay,
That's right.
thank you.
It was the format that went for employees, and so we need a separate way of entering. That's, and you just may not know it yet.
That would explain that.
I managed to get in, but I got a weird message back about, was this really me? Because I had entered in some odd way, and I don't know whether that was left over as previous county name or what. But
Yeah, I just think that the link was a different one.
Concerned that I'm the only one who bothered contact. I'm a little concerned that I'm the only one who contacted Laura and said that there was a problem.
Oh, no, I think
I assumed it was just me
We
since
just
she hadn't heard from anybody else.
No, Elise, I let her know also,
Yeah.
because I couldn't get in.
And Mary, your
Well-
stuff's in there, right?
Okay, so she.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
in any case, I'll give the treasurer report very briefly.
Thank you.
With great apologies to Elliot, who is not getting paid this month because that motion did not get to the right person, because I thought someone else was doing it, and that won't happen again. So he'll get paid for 2 months next time. The ending balance in our county, Fairfax County account, is $70,797.02. And in the Park Authority History Conference account, with what we have so far from conference registrations and expenses, we still have $1,749.43. And those the expenses are rolling in this week, as you all know, so we are keeping track of that and working closely with the Park Authority. And I want to thank Lynn and Cheryl, who have been doing that all day, it seems. Thank you.
Sue, did you transfer so that Park Authority account was at 5,000, or is that 1,700 remaining from the previous Park Authority balances?
That is from the previous, because I did not understand that I could transfer from one account to another until last week, as you well know. This will get done.
All right, I just wanted to get
As
clarity
a
on that.
note,
Thank you.
as,
Sorry, go ahead,
as a
Nancy.
note that does require a motion if after the fact.
The transfer
Oh.
does?
A
Well, thank
transfer
you. I
requires a
didn't know that
motion.
Okay, so we can just, so do you, typically it's just kept like, just sort of keep it in your head and do it separately? Is that how usually the treasurer deals with it? Okay,
Yeah, and after the fact is fine, but it's the kind of thing that needs to be on the record.
The motion
That
was
money
already
was shifted
made
from one
to
account
approve
to
the
the
money. She can move it from one account to the other.
Right,
That-
that's already been
that is
done. This
correct.
just happened. That's right.
That did happen already. And that's what the $5,000 was that Elise made. Yeah, so I can move it at any time. They do have that in writing. Thank you.
Is it the $5,000 or the 5,000 total?
it was,
In
5,000 total is what Elise proposed, and out of that came the flyers. But
Right.
yeah, it'll get done.
okay. Thank you. All right, moving along to staff reports. Amy, you want to tell us what's going on with cultural resources?
Good Lord, I'm exhausted. It's November 1st, and I'll tell you, my the rest of the year is booked. So, and that happened pretty much today. So, I will just review the report a little bit, and then I have a couple of things, like I said, that came in today that I'll just give you a heads up on and report more in depth next month. So we did finally finish all of that field work at Riverbend Park. 7,000 shovel test. It was the biggest phase 1 survey that has been done on Park Authority property. It is going to really, really help us to protect those resources at the Riverbend Park. And we're already working right now on how we can give that information back to the public and to the park users. So Riverbend is undergoing a process of it's each park has their own interpretive plan, and they update it every so often. And so our team will be a part of that interpretive planning process for the park. We're excited to be a part of that. We're also, this month is American Indian Heritage Month. So we're providing some information both on social media and at a few different events regarding the heritage of Virginia Indians. And certainly the work that we did at Riverbend Park is part of that as well. October was spooky cemetery cleanup month. And we cleaned up, I think, Tammy, we were speaking before we met, and we worked at St. Paul's Cemetery in Lincolnia. That's the indigent cemetery. It is an active cemetery currently, right near Summers Cemetery, if you're familiar with cemeteries as landmarks. And I received a really lovely email from a woman. She is 85 years old, and she reached out to county staff saying, I'm so glad you guys cut back the brush on my family's plot, and we couldn't see them anymore, and now we can see them. And so we're going to meet and do an oral history. I'm hoping in 2 weeks. So the week of Thanksgiving. So just we can chat and talk about how her family lived there, and what she has to say about that little part of. It's such a funny little part. It's so close to Alexandria City and Bailey's Crossroads right there. There's a lot of really interesting history, and she is ready and willing to tell it. So we'll get that recorded and make sure that you all get a version of that as well. And we will be using your oral history guide to do the work. Thank you, commissioners who have done fabulous work on that. So St. Paul's was a big hit. Germantown Maintenance Facility, that indigent cemetery it's actually in relatively good shape, but it needed some TLC. So we cleaned out the garden beds there, did some new plantings of perennials, planted some bulbs. So in the spring, you should see beautiful daffodils in the cemetery there. We had both a corporate group and some middle school students work at Germantown. We still need to do a repair of the gate and some painting. I'm waiting for a day that's not too windy to do the painting, and I haven't had one of those yet. So ready to do that when the weather lets us. We tested the cemetery app, the application that we are using with our GIS receiver to map these cemeteries more accurately at Wakefield Chapel. It went really well. We did find, and you know, it's a thing I know as an anthropologist, everybody's different. And so some of the things we thought, oh, we'll just record the date. Sure, but how is their date recorded on the tombstone? Is it you know, date first, month second, month first, date second? Is it, we'll record the age. Well, does it say in the 78th year of their birth or 2 months, 3 days? So there's some tweaking I've got to do to make sure that data looks clean and pretty. So when we send it back out to the public, sense can be made of it. But that Wakefield was actually a really good place to test that. We're excited about how that went. We're going to continue through the winter and into the spring doing these cleanups on the county-owned cemeteries. We're going to try to get permission from as many of the privately owned as we can. I've had, at this point, 3 different homeowners associations representing 7 cemeteries reach out to me saying, we saw your guide, we're ready to do this work. We've been waiting. We didn't know what to do. We've kind of been, you know, worried about these things, and we just needed some guidance. So I couldn't be more pleased that that's reaching the right people. And I'll be meeting some of those folks over the next few weeks. You know, winter is the best time actually to do cemetery work. So that is what the winter brings. And for the intrepid among us at the archaeology, the rest of those kids get to do some training while I go do some field work for once. So that's the plan. And once again, I can't thank Mary Lipsey enough. She came out to both Germantown and St. Paul's to have a look around and share stories and just talk about what worked for her group versus what I was up to. And I can't thank her enough for her expertise as always. And that is my report. I'm happy to take questions if you have them.
Amy, who is the lady who contacted you? Because I've met a lady there. Do you know? That's okay.
I can
That's all
look
right.
it up. She's quite elderly and lives across the street, if that helps. But I can get you her name offline.
Okay.
And I'm happy to do that. Oh, I should say also, you'll hear more about it next month, but you may have seen that the Board of Supervisors approved carryover funding for a trail at not Mount Vernon, at Martin Luther King Park in Gum Springs, Mount Vernon District. So I met with planning staff yesterday to talk about how we were going to put that carryover money to good use. And we're excited to work on that project. It's a great park, and that community, there's already a trail connection that we'll be able to attach to. I'm excited about the project. So I'll have more information about that as we go.
Is that where the Peak Family Cemetery is, Amy?
It sure is. It sure is. It's on the other side of the park from it, but that is the park with Peak.
There, yes.
Right.
Yep.
And it's this is like near the water area, I
Yes.
guess. That's neat. Cool.
Yeah.
Amy,
I think that's
this
the
is
point of the
Esther.
trail.
Hi, Esther.
Hi. I'm glad that you found something useful on the oral history. Did you get the release form?
I do have the release form.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Just wanna
Thank you
make
so
sure.
much. Listen, I appreciate that is the voice of experience, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Esther.
The attorneys would appreciate it.
All right, any other questions? Okay, so we can proceed on to Sarah. I believe you're presenting tonight, Sarah Petroff for Heritage Conservation Branch.
So it's been a bit of a quiet month. So we'll just start from our operations and maintenance. Work is still continuing at Dranesville Tavern. We determined that originally the plan was the work would stop around the fall, but we've determined that's actually going to continue on until the early spring of next year. So Dranesville Tavern is still being worked on for the termite damage. But we are posting updates as they come along on the website in case there's public questions about it. But so far, we haven't really received any of that. Our Historic Sites Volunteer Corps, HSBC, we will have our last landscape cleanup for this year. It's going to be on November 12th, and it's going to be at Marybrook. So that will be our last one, and then we will start looking to do planning for next year for sites with HSBC. And then for our resident curator program, it's been a little bit quiet there, although we have received our first draft of the historic structures report for Fairfax Arms. So we are currently trying to get a historic structures report for both Fairfax Arms and Union Farm. So that is the first of the two to come in. And hopefully the second one will follow soon. But that's exciting, so we can kind of get an idea of the work that needs to be done at Fairfax Arms and what we can expect for the curator. But otherwise than that, quiet month, and that is all I have for updates. But if there's any questions.
Okay, I don't see anybody. Okay. All right, so let's continue on. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate your report. Laura, no, well, Chris is not here tonight. He's not feeling well, unless he has sudden recovery. I don't think so. Chris, right? Yeah. So his written report is in the share file and in the expanded agenda that I sent out. Notably, on that report is that Jenna Wolf started as the new Virginia Room librarian once. So, continuing on to planning and development.
Could I just pull out one thing from Chris's report?
Please, go ahead.
That we've been talking about, and I mentioned it in the advocacy meeting last week. And I'll just read his comment here. It says,
I missed it.
Yeah, we're aiming to host a bi-weekly virtual book club in 2023 that will read Fairfax County, Virginia, a history. That's the Great Big Blue book. Yes. And Chris and I have both wanted to read through it start to finish for a while. And we thought, well, surely there must be more people who want to do this. Yes, there we go. Mine is blue, so I call it Big Blue, and Chris calls it the Holy Bible of Fairfax County. So now this would be, I was going to say this is a read through. While we would love to go through and research it, as we go through, we really just want to read it through start to finish. And so it's going to be a multi-month endeavor. It may be 5 months, it may be more than that. But anyway, we're talking about it. So if folks are interested in doing that, send them an email, send them your ideas, and we're going to be working on this together anyway. So, and the public would be it would be open to the public since history commissioners would be there.
Tammy?
And I want to know as soon as we have confirmation and dates, because I think the DAR chapters in the community would love to participate in this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real interesting idea. And then I don't know if there is a time or a place to mention it at the History Commission. Somebody in advocacy, might have been you, Barbara, mentioned that the history conference, there might be folks there who are interested in doing this, but just kind of to get the word out that this is something that'll be coming along in 2023.
I have a question, and that is, are there volumes available? Because as I understood, they're hard to come by. I have one which I've used forever, and there were scholars at the time that provided the various sections, so it's wonderful. But I don't know if it's readily available. Can anybody?
We talked about that at advocacy, and I know as somebody who does a lot of used book sales, both for Historic Vienna and for Friends of the Virginia Room, there are a lot available secondhand. I mean, that's the only way to get them. And then we looked online too the other night. Mm-hmm. And we found a lot that were reasonably priced.
Good, okay.
And while I'm talking about book sales, I'll just say Chris would also want us to emphasize his last point in his report, which is Friends of the Virginia Room doing another used book sale. It's a big fundraiser for Friends to be able to support the Virginia Room. It's going to be Thursday, the 10th of November, so that's next Thursday. And then it's the take off Friday because it's closed for Veterans Day, and then open again on Saturday and Sunday, including the grocery bag sale on Sunday from 10 to 3. So it's an amazing amount of books if anybody's looking to get to fill some holes in your collection.
Tammy?
Yeah, that's great. Yes.
I would suggest if you could give me the information, or I'll get it for you, to get it out to history, social studies teachers throughout
Yes.
the county. Also George Mason, Nova Historic Preservation. I mean, you know, anybody who is history minded, it is a wealth of information. I also don't know if there's more than one edition. So
There's 2 editions, but they're in the exact same text.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
There was the blue, there was the original blue one, I think the bicentennial. And then in 1990 or so, Patrick Reed shamed the county into republishing it. However, I want to chime in on something that I did on my own personally with Chris, is I suggested to him that it would be a good idea to scan the book.
Yes.
Because I thought it was silly that the county history of Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania was available online, but Fairfax County wasn't. He thought it was a good idea. Maybe he needs to be prodded again on that.
He's been working on it, and he said that they had a particularly hard time cutting the binding off of the large volume.
It's big. It's big.
It's so big. And so he said they had to sort of cut it a bit at a time, sawing it off of the binding, I'm sure. But so I believe that is in process. So that was a great suggestion. And maybe this will bring more attention to it so that it can be completed. So I think it's a great opportunity. And there's always, it's always helpful to have company when you're tackling something like that. So, and we thought about, like, what if at the end of this reading through that we have a discussion about what would you include if you were moving on from here from 1976, what was missing from what's in there, and then what would you include from 76 forward? What are the highlights that you would pick out? But anyway, and we may divide it up by author because the sections.
Yes, that's right.
So, but anyway, it'll be a fun adventure. Will it be perfect? It'll be tough, but we'll give it a go. I think it'll be fun.
Good.
Tammy? Oops.
All right. Thank you.
Tammy?
Go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be at the conference Saturday, right?
I'll be there in the morning, but I think I have to, I have a conflict. So I think I have to leave after a bit, but I can write something up, or Chris and I can write something up together.
Write something up, or go ahead and take a moment as we have a break and make an announcement. That would be lovely.
Okay, perfect. We can totally do that. Thank you so much.
Just remind me, because I have 1,000 things on my mind.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. That was really productive. Thank you. All right. Laura, Planning and Development.
Good evening, commissioners. It's been a month. We've been very, very busy. And I just want to let you know that those 2 documents have been uploaded to the share file. And tomorrow I'm going to sit down with Denise and figure out how I sent out the wrong link so that we will have that fixed for the next month. Trial by fire. Okay. First things first, some of you may have heard the poll came back from the Holmes Run Acres Potential Historic Overlay District. It was almost a 50-50 split within the community. And given the overwhelming lack of support for the HOD, Supervisor Gross has decided not to move forward with it. That being said, it doesn't mean that the work that went into the study is going to be thrown away. It is going to be kept at DPD. If ever in the future someone wants to come back and reevaluate whether or not the tide and the want or need for an HOD in that neighborhood has come back, we will keep all of that on file. So any information that you might want in addition to that is on the Holmes Run Acre project website. And also, you're always welcome to contact Denise, who is intimately familiar with the project. Okay. Survey efforts. We have so many documentation efforts going on right now that are ramping up, like right in the middle and are paring down. And I'm so excited about this because this helps the county with planning efforts and it helps you all with being able to be advocates and inventory and all the great things. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Modern Architectural Survey, or Mid-Century Survey as we're calling it. We met with the Department of Historic Resources this month to talk about how we're going to move forward with the project in the next couple of weeks and in early 2023. So what we have is we have a list of 186 potential historic resources, and we're going through and looking at them item by item for potential significance and architectural integrity just from a surface area or like a cursory kind of sweep, because we need to, in order to get the consultants to get the scope within their budget, we need to pare it down a little bit. So what we're doing is, like I said, we're going through each one and evaluating them. And that's going to begin in earnest in late 22 or early 2023. And I'm asking you all, commissioners, and anyone who's listening, if you know of any buildings in your district that you think are potentially historic or are, gems of the mid-century, please let me know. I'm happy to take a look at them for you and see if we can include them on the list. I know that there are some absolute beauties up here. There was in Annandale a bowling alley that made me almost drive off the road. Gorgeous, and like this is the suburb, so like this is a really great opportunity, I think, moving forward to identify these resources that might be slated for redevelopment in the future. Okay, so our African American Context Study and Architectural Survey. We also met with the Virginia SHPO to discuss the comments on that. We had comments on our side. We talked with them. They're going to submit them to the consultant who did the report for us. The consultants are going to take a look at the comments that we made, and we plan on getting a final report back in early 2023. We can then distribute it to the ARB and to the History Commission for your comments and your suggestions. And then eventually, when we wrap up the whole process, we will have a public input meeting. And we found out this week that in the coming weeks, we will be moving forward with the RFP process for the ongoing project in Gum Springs, which includes an historic resource survey. And that one, that historic survey is more in Denise's wheelhouse, but we will be working together on that process as we move forward. And so this one's really exciting. The Centerville Architectural Survey has begun. We are starting this week. We have our maps ready. We have our action plan ready. We're creating our historic resource inventory survey in our Fairfax County Built Environment GIS. We're going to document all properties built before the year 2000. It's very, very interesting study because we want to make sure that this survey is useful not just 10 years from now, but 30 or 40 years from now. And given how development has changed in Fairfax County in the past 20 or 30 years, we want to make sure that we're as inclusive in documenting the resources that are extant now to see what land use planning happens in the future. So the whole point of the project is not necessarily an historic resource survey. That's one component of it. What this is it's an opportunity for the residents of Centerville to identify, character areas, what they value in terms of their community, what they would like to envision for the next 20 or 30 years for Centerville. And so they're going to use our data that we collect for them to kind of identify these pockets of, when were these residential neighborhoods built? What do the residential neighborhoods look like, and commercial and institute and everything that goes into it. So this is a new experience, y'all. This is the first time that I have seen a survey that starts at the year 2000. So it's going to be a trip, but I look forward to working on it and updating you all. And if you have questions, you can contact, about the survey, you can contact me or Michael Burton or Clara Johnson over in our offices. And I want to reiterate this point that, the resources that we identify when we go out in the field and using these consultants and working with the SHPO are tools, not only, for us as planners when something gets pinned or comes through for redevelopment or comes through for demolition, that we can then say, hey, somebody has assessed this, somebody has identified this as a potentially historic resource. This is something that, then gives us a leg to stand on when we go to the community, when we go to the developers or whomever it is to say, we've already assessed this. We know this is here. We need to make sure that you do your due diligence around making sure that this resource is preserved, documented with GIS or whatever the mitigation happens to be. But also, it's a tool for us to hand to you all to say, hey, look, we've identified all of these great historic resources in Fairfax County as the planners, as the historic resource specialists. You all have the opportunity then to go out and celebrate and show how great the history of Fairfax County is with our survey. So we're working in tandem to save and celebrate the resources of Fairfax County. Okay, so lots of survey efforts are going on, but we knew that was going to happen. The African American Marcus Program. We are in the outreach component of this. We have done some preliminary research. So we are continuing research, with our archives and identifying, other, as many resources as we can to make this the most robust interpretation possible. We are currently reaching out to sites that were selected to receive a marker to let them know that they are receiving a marker and to celebrate the site where they are. In terms of staff positions, the planner 5 position, which was Laura Ardeno's position, who I saw last night and wants to say hello to everyone. It closed on October 7th and they've received some applications, so that's going through the process right now. The Architectural Review Board support position closed on October 28th and they're doing the same thing. And for administration. Okay, so I went through to see if there are ways that we can streamline things like teams and key cards and all purchasing. And from what I have found out, there are policies that are already in place that are supposed to be followed. So I can give you the information that I've collected from our financial people, and we can go from there. So in terms of teams and things, they did recommend again that if you all want to, or if each chair wants to have his or her own Teams account, reimbursement would be the best and most efficient way to do that. Cheryl and I are going to meet very soon to actually get into the weeds of the administration of that, so we can get that taken care of for y'all. But in terms of doing purchasing across the board, it seems that they are paid, all inquiries are paid by check, P-card, or reimbursement. Invoices can be submitted directly to DPD Finance Department for payment, and someone at the county will issue a check directly to the vendor. Online payments can be paid with the DPT financial representative's P-card, and any expenditures HC commissioners make it to a vendor who does not have an online payment method or does not have an invoice system will be reimbursed via checks. All payments to the clerk are made through the DHR payroll system. Roshane Pereira is our point of contact on that. And I have some links that were sent to me for all of the written policies about, how all of this works, and a list of what can and cannot be done in terms of P-card purchases based on the Fairfax County's policies. And I'm happy to send those along to the commission after the meeting. 2 other things that I forgot to put on here, or at least my final thing I forgot to put on here, is the cemetery MOA has been sent back with the final approved edits to the county attorney's office, so it can be approved by then and then sent through the levels that it has to in order to get executed. So we're getting there. Just one day at a time, and that's what I have.
Thank you, Laura. I see, Sue, is that your hand raised?
Oh, I can just send a message to Laura about getting copies of the things, the P-card. We don't need to waste time here. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Thank you. And yeah, and just a point of clarification, of course, any expenditure is the treasurer, Sue, always sends some documentation that the expenditure has been approved by the commission. Lynn.
Let me chime in to say, yes, Sue is our gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. And from when they first put us on focus, she's the only person who really should be submitting any request for payment.
Right.
That was one of the original stipulations.
Yeah, that makes it much more coherent and much easier for staff as well as everybody else involved. A little bit harder for Sue, but it makes it much clearer. Lynn. Lynn, you have your hand raised?
I should have taken it down. It was up. I already asked a question to Tammy.
Okay, all right.
It should have gone down before. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. And Laura, I'll offline a question to you about the architectural survey. So we will continue on Elise, you have a motion that was tabled a couple of months ago regarding suggested change in discussion process.
If it's all right with everyone, I'll just go ahead and make the words I said a motion, and then we can go from there. Okay. I have a suggested policy for the History Commission to adopt. After a presentation, the chair should ask if anyone is prepared to make a motion and recognize them. If not, discussion as usual follows. Once a motion is made, all subsequent discussion shall be limited to the motion on the floor. After the motion is resolved, the chair will call for a moment for other remarks. Generally, discussion on these remarks will not take place during the current meeting. And that's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. All right, discussion.
This is Esther.
Sure, go ahead, Esther.
At least I'm not understanding. Is all of that your motion?
Yes, the entire thing, everything I wrote in the text yes. It's a policy.
So what was that last part?
It's also written out on Cheryl's enhanced document if you look at it. Generally, discussion on these remarks will not take place during the current meeting. In other words, we don't talk about.
If it's a discussion that pertains to the motion,
No, this is after the motion. After the motion is closed, the chair will ask for remarks, a moment of remarks. And for the most part, unless something is really crucial, the understanding of the commission will be that we're not going to talk about all this stuff in depth until the following month. For example, a few months ago,
motion is introduced 1 month and then we vote the next month. So discussion goes on the next month?
No. A couple months ago, Subi made a suggestion about buying a book. And it came at the tag end of a motion, and there was really it came actually during the discussion of a motion. And it was a really good idea, but it didn't belong in the discussion for a motion, which is why I wrote this policy out. So what I'm making now is a suggestion. Subi could make the suggestion that we buy the book. And then the next month we'll take it up. If there's interest, next month we'll take it up and discuss it, instead of spending a lot of time discussing Subi's suggestion of buying a really good book at the time. In other words, I'm trying to keep discussion down. Get people to move on to the next topic.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Cheryl?
Yes.
It's Jordan. Hi.
Oh, hey, Jordan. How you doing?
I made it. Notwithstanding Biden's visit to Union Station, just as my train arrived.
Oh my.
Yeah, and then closing down roads about a half a mile around. Okay, so one thing, just a technicality. This is great, Elise. Always in favor of more efficient ways to do business. I want to just add, one thing I would add is, that has to second, right? If someone makes a motion, they need to second, just to put that in. It's a detail. And then they have discussion. Thank you. Correct. And then let me understand, you don't want to vote on that motion at the time after you have discussion. You don't want to vote on it. Is that the thing?
No, I want to vote on the motion without a lot of extraneous comments along the way, because we've gotten to the point where people say, what was the motion? Because the discussion has gotten far-ranging. So what I'm asking is, if you have a far-ranging comment that's really important, but it's not germane to the motion that has been made and we're discussing, hold it until after the vote. And the chair will ask, and the assumption will be that this will be something that's quick and short and taken up later.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, it should all apply to the motion that has been made and seconded, then discussed, and then voted on. Yeah.
And so mostly this is a suggestion to the chair to after a vote is taken, to ask if there are any further comments or remarks or ideas that might be put on the agenda the following month.
Well, or as I understand it, if someone starts to, during the discussion period, starts to talk about something extraneous, suggest that you need to stay focused on what it is, what the motion is on the floor that's been seconded, vote on it. Then afterwards, if you want to bring up another item, fine, but not to
Correct.
clutter the discussion relative to the motion that's been made. Yeah, I makes sense. A
So
lot of
is
sense.
this not standard parliamentary procedure?
Well, we don't have a really good opportunity unless you get on the agenda to bring something up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is offering an opportunity for spontaneity so that we
yeah.
don't cut off all our clever ideas.
Right.
But we don't really have a good place. Seriously, without getting on the agenda, you don't really have an opportunity to raise something.
Well,
so this is my
you
solution.
have the opportunity to get on the agenda by contacting the chair.
However, if
Right.
something comes up in your head during the meeting and it's a really good thought, I don't see any reason that people should have to hold it for a month and get on the agenda.
Write it down and contact the chair.
Well, you guys, you all will decide whether to just follow my suggestion or Esther's.
Yeah. So if I might, because run a lot of meetings these days, typically what I see is that if someone wants to make a motion, there'll be a notice of that in the agenda, motion intended to be made. If there is no action, then it'll say no action, just to be discussed. So that's
The
pretty
History
much,
Commission doesn't work that way.
okay, well,
The History
fine.
Commission does not have motions in advance.
Yeah. Maybe they want to. Maybe that'll make it more
Well,
efficient.
That would be a good
Well,
idea,
that
but I'm not
be
going
an
that far tonight.
That would be
I
an
want to go
example of-
farther, Elise. Let's go farther.
That would
I'm
be an
just trying to
example
give- I'm just
that would
trying to
be
give
an
Subi and Tammy, who have good ideas, a place to express them.
But actually, that's an example of a case in point, Jordan. So, that would be a kind of, an issue that could be brought up and placed on the agenda next month, in
Whether
terms of
whether to change the agenda?
motions in
Motions
in advance or whatever the procedure is. I mean, I think just in terms to clarify what Elise is in imagining in terms of how this would proceed. Barbara.
Yes, I think we're overthinking here. I think Elise has offered a good idea to get some order out of chaos. We all have great ideas, and I think everyone in this Zoom table has at one time or another come up with an idea that spun off. And so what we're saying is you do that, but somebody note it down so that then you can have a full discussion on it at the next meeting. And you finish this piece of business before you go to the next piece of business. What Jordan's talking about, I would vote down. No. There.
Oh, Barbara.
Sue. Sue.
I just wanted to say that in terms of efficiency, yes, Elise, it does make a lot of sense since we don't have motions proposed in advance. So it's a good idea. The reality is that when you're running a meeting, the chair can't always remember some of this, as all of you who have run meetings, including me, know. So yes, in terms of efficiency, it's wonderful, but sometimes chairs are human, so they allow more discussion, and sometimes it's needed, but good idea. Thank you.
Cheryl, this is
Yes,
Subi.
go ahead, Subi.
Sorry, I can't for some reason raise my hand on the screen. First of all, thanks to Elise for bringing this motion to the table, because I think we do need some order to the way we raise motions. Having said that, in this case, I would go more in favor of what Jordan is saying, that maybe we need to present or contact the chair ahead of time if we have a motion to present. My issue with Elise's suggestion is that if after passing, Elise, mea culpa, I shouldn't have gone astray at that time. But once we have voted on a motion and we have accepted or declined it, I think to ask if there are further comments just furthers the conversation. And if we do that for every motion, it just, to me, prolongs the, it doesn't make it, makes it less efficient. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
No, I understand your point, but sometimes the motion becomes very focused on a certain aspect of an issue. And somebody wants to raise a point on the broader issue that's out, beyond the scope of the specific motion. And I'm trying to offer a place for the broader comment that's relevant, but not tailored to the motion, wouldn't be part of the motion.
So at the end of the meeting, Cheryl always asks the question, are there any new agenda items or new business?
No, she asked for announcements.
Yeah, I ask for announcements, but I don't ask for agenda items. I mean, I just assume that anybody who has an agenda item will contact me and I put it on. But yeah, I don't ask for that. And I don't, like at new business, I don't ask if there's anybody who has new business to raise. And if it, and that is potentially problematic to do that in the course of a meeting, because that could potentially, I mean, I do try to, I don't control the agenda in terms of anybody who wants to have something on the agenda. I don't nix that ahead of time. That's not my role. I put it on the agenda. But sometimes I do ask people to, could you address this in a following month in order so that we can manage our time? And that would be the only issue of opening up new business, on the floor. But there always are, I mean, in terms of parliamentary procedure, I think anybody can always make a motion from the floor. That is always a possibility.
Cheryl, this is Esther. I don't know if you can see or not, but BP has her hand up. Is that
Yes.
Barbara Peters?
I was going to call on Barbara next. Thank you. Go ahead, Barbara.
I understand the purpose of Elisa's motion, but I guess my question would be, who is the person or the role that's going to determine what is actually germane to that motion? Is the person proposing it going to limit the conversation? And sometimes, the discussion brings out aspects that may have not been thought of when the motion was made. So, I mean, I think limiting, that conversation can sometimes be detrimental to the progress.
But the chair does exercise a certain control over that. Just in terms of, I mean, it is a judgment call in terms of how far ranging to allow that discussion to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. Barbara, do you have a further comment? Or?
Sorry about this, but yes, I do. And we are a group of 21 people, right? And when I can't give you an example right now, but there have been opportunities where a motion was made and the discussion led to all kinds of peripheral things, and we ended up eventually with a better motion and a better product, whatever it is that we're going to be doing. And I think that you have to think clearly about this. It might work better when we're all in 3 dimensions again and we're all together. It's difficult on Zoom, but I appreciate what Elise is trying to do if we just stick with that. But to further tighten it, you're putting efficiency over the creativity and the working together we're trying to do. And we're a very rich body. And if you think about this was Laura, excuse, but back with Denise, we had some big issue, and she said, I'm amazed at how you all coming at it from different perspectives and expanding the idea and how you eventually come together. That's that kind of discussion. And I don't want that. I don't want us to lose that. So I'll be quiet, I promise, from here on out on this. Okay?
Jordan,
So quickly, to clarify, if you have a motion and you make the motion, you second the motion, you discuss the motion, discussion leads to another way in which to interpret another piece you'd like to do, can you amend the motion, second amendment to the motion, and then incorporate, if possible, perhaps the emotional amendment in the original motion?
I think I
Don't
said
answer
that.
at once. What's that?
That's standard practice.
Yeah, good. Okay.
I
Great.
think what we really need is some parliamentary procedure for the whole group, so we'll be on one accord.
Yeah, that I agree, Esther, that can be useful, and that, if we review those basic skills. I just don't quite
Otherwise,
know how to
Madam
do that.
Chair, I called for the question.
Okay, there you go. That's an example. So the question has been called, which I believe ends the discussion, correct, Esther? I'll let you be our parliamentarian.
Yes.
Okay, so
To
then we will.
determine if we want to vote or continue.
Oh, okay, so the issue on the floor now is to whether to continue with discussion or to vote.
To vote.
Okay, so yes, you're calling for the vote, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Nay.
Opposed.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so
You
we're going
better-
to have to, I
Yeah,
think we
take a
may need
roll
a
call.
voice call, a roll call on this, because
Yeah.
so I'm going to call your name off, and then you tell me yay or nay. And I just have to find my list of names that I had at the beginning. Where is that? Here it is. Okay. Mary Lipsy,
Aye.
Gretchen Bulova,
Nay.
Carol Herrick,
Nay.
Subi Madi,
Abstain.
Elise Murray,
Aye.
Barbara Naif,
Aye.
Ann Stuntz. Ann?
Muted.
Aye. Aye.
Steve Sherman,
Aye.
Phyllis Walker Ford,
Aye.
Barbara Peters,
Nay.
Ann Barnes,
Aye.
Sally Lyons,
Aye.
Tammy Manarino,
Aye.
Sue Schumann,
Aye.
Janae Lindner,
Nay.
Jordan Tannenbaum,
Nay.
Esther McCullough,
Nay.
Bob Beach. Bob, are you with us? Okay, I think
Aye.
Bob is. Oh, there you go. Lynn Garvey Hodge.
Aye.
And is David joined us? David Meyer?
Madam Chair, I believe David has no vote.
I'm not sure, but I think it's, I don't think he's here, so we'll have to clarify that.
Okay, thank you.
He has a vote, I think.
We'll have to. I think that there was no special constraint, or I think he is a member of the commission, just
A
like any
regular
other member,
member,
same
yeah.
status. So it's my count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nays, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 ayes, and the ayes have it, and the motion passes. And, oh, was there an abstention though? Sorry, there was one abstention. So actually, so it's 12 ayes. Because I think I put in A for abstention. Yeah, I did. Okay, so 12 ayes, 1 abstention, and 6 nays. So with that, the motion passes. And that was actually a really, really good example of parliamentary procedure. So thank you. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda. Now my pages are out of order. I believe.
Nominating
Committee. Thank you. There we go. So I just want to preface this by saying I put this on the agenda in part to allow everybody to know that there is actually a complete nominating committee. And so I'll let Phyllis describe that, but because it took a little while to put the committee together, I don't have any expectation, and I hope the commission understands that there may not be a slate being presented tonight, or maybe there is, but I'll give this floor to Phyllis and she can explain.
Let me clear that up real quick. There will not be a slate. Everybody has been busy, and it's been difficult to be in contact, but we do have a 3-member committee, and that is Commissioner Carol Herrick, Commissioner Esther McCullough, and myself. And we are working hard to come up with the nominations for the positions that we have, and we hope to be able to finalize it this coming week, the week of the 7th of November, and then we could share it with commission members. And the vote, of course, would be at the December meeting.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments about that?
I just have a question. So this will be my first cycle in terms of this kind of election procedure. So my question is, are all the officer slates being voted on? What are we? Or is it just the chairwoman?
We're actually checking with those who are in positions. An example would be the corresponding secretary. You can stay in a position for up to 3 years, but the vote is taken on all positions every year.
Okay. Got it.
So Jordan and Barbara, do you have your hands raised from the previous discussion, or did you, Jordan?
Sorry, yes, I did, but let me just say, I apologize for being late to the party, offering myself for this committee. But if you do need another member, or if someone can't do it, notwithstanding a rather busy schedule, I'd be happy to participate.
Thank you, Jordan.
You bet.
Barbara, did you also have a comment or a question? Okay. Anybody else?
I apologize. I hadn't taken it down. Excuse me.
No, that's fine. Yeah, not a problem. Steve or anybody else, especially, I don't want to ignore or overlook the folks who are calling in. So, all right. Okay, so just, we do have a December meeting. I know that we have a general preference to have a slate by November. The last time I checked, and there's been enough going on that I'm not 100% certain, but I am 99% certain that our bylaws does not require that we present a slate in November. It just requires the vote in December. So I think we're good on that.
That is correct.
Thank you very much to Phyllis and to Carol and to Esther for doing this. I know it's not an easy job. So thank you for supporting the commission. All right, new business. Grace, are you here to report on the, how do you pronounce that? the Goins house?
Yeah, it's Goins. So unfortunately, Grace is out sick this week, so you're stuck with me today.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna pull that up.
Welcome, Megan.
And y'all let me know if you guys see my presentation and only my presentation and not my notes.
Okay.
Working on it. Okay, what do you guys
There
see?
it is.
Yep, it's there.
I don't see notes either.
Perfect. All righty. So let's get this started. All right. So thank you, Cheryl, and the rest of the History Commissioners for putting us on the agenda tonight. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Megan Riley, a planning tech with DPD. As I said, Grace sends her regards. She is out sick this week. But I'm here tonight to present one of our current development review cases, which we have affectionately dubbed the Goins House. We're presenting it to you in the hopes of garnering community interest in the preservation of this historic building, as well as leveraging commissioners' knowledge and experience working in this field. So a lot of what Grace and I do at work is review development applications to look for adverse effects to historic resources. This variance case came in, and Grace provided comments at the end of August. The owners of 10133 Zion Drive in Fairfax, formerly known as Route 654, have applied for a variance to adjust property setbacks with the hopes of eventually building a new home on the site. This lot is quite large, but is very narrow and is currently mostly occupied by 600 out of 700 feet with flora. So the highlighted plot on this map is that of 10133 Zion Drive. And as you can see, it's quite large in comparison to a lot of the other ones, but it's very narrow. The other surrounding lots hold large single-family homes and small townhomes built in the 1970s and 80s. The historic nature of the parcel layout does not conform with the current zoning ordinance, which dictates the setbacks for each zoning district. So legally, the owners of this property could demolish the current building and construct a long, narrow house up to the setbacks of the lot. This would be a by right development and would never have come in as a rezoning application for staff review. However, such a build would not fit with the current character of the neighborhood. Also, the owners would like to build a more traditional looking house that faces the main road, but that would encroach on the setbacks, thereby creating the need for the variance application in the first place. So a bit of community background. The house is located in the historically Black neighborhood of Sideburn. Sideburn developed after the Civil War as a community of and for African-American farmers and laborers. In 1904, David and Sarah Pinn donated an acre of their land to build Little Bethel Baptist Church, which further permanently established the neighborhood and its community. Later on, in 1973, the church became the David R. Pinn Community Center when the Sideburn Civic Community Association acquired it. This resource is located at 10225 Zion Drive, about half mile away from the Goins House. The Sideburn community, as well as the community center, were a part of the recent African American survey that Laura was talking about earlier. All of what was the historic Sideburn neighborhood has disappeared over the years, mainly through the redevelopment of the 1970s and 80s, except the Goins House and the community center. So those are the last two remaining resources. As for the house itself, it's one of the last, as I said, one of the last remaining resources of the original community, and it was built in 1942. It was the home of James Goins and his wife Anne, both of whom can actually be seen in the picture on the slide during the 1980s. Goins was an active civil rights leader and community activist, earning him the title of the Godfather of Zion Drive. Goins advocated for his community in many ways, particularly in the realm of infrastructure improvements and public safety. He spearheaded efforts to bring improvements that included sewer and water hookups to the Black residents of Sideburn. Due to being such a prominent local leader, it seemed as though the community came to Goins and his house in times of community need. The house may have been used as a temporary church space while the parishioners transitioned from the Little Zion Baptist Church at 10018 Burke Lake Road to the Greater Zion Baptist Church at 10185 Zion Road. There has also been at least one funeral documented as occurring in the house in 1985. So the owners currently have said that the house feels small and that there are a lot of elements that are failing. They report things such as damage underneath the foundation, peeling insulation, animals under the foundation and in the attic, and sewage problems. This report by the owners concerned staff that the building would be unsalvageable, but a visit to the site at the end of August revealed that the condition was actually what we would deem to be fair, thanks to the work of the owners. The house sat uninhabited for a few years before the current owners actually bought it, which led to natural and human-caused degradation that the residents have been working to fix over the last couple of years since they bought it. The windows and the door, for example, have all been replaced. So here are a few other pictures showing the current conditions of the site. As you can see, especially in the picture in the upper right, the owners are consistently working to patch the openings to the crawl space as best they could, as the house is built on a pier foundation and they say that parts of the subfloor is eroding in certain places. The driveway to the house the driveway to the south of the property, seen in the bottom left picture, it marks the edge of the property line and leads all the way back about 700, 800 feet to a different residence. So having visited the site and evaluated the physical and archival historic materials, staff recommended that the owners of the property preserve the house in situ and build their new house behind it on the rest of the lot that they plan to clear. The owners do not wish to do this as it will block the view of their new house and will further complicate some of the sewage issues that they're already currently having. They also do not have the money to maintain two houses at once indefinitely. The owners are, however, in support of staff working to find another permanent location for the house, which is staff's current opinion about the best course of action for preservation. The owners are still currently saving up for their new house and are not in a hurry to demolish it. And the variance application hearing has actually been pushed back to January of 2023, and the owners estimate that from there they will attempt to start new construction in about 2 to 3 years. One of the things that staff recommended was for the owners to complete a nomination for the county's inventory, as this house was a significant site for civil rights activities in Fairfax and is one of the last remnants of one of the county's important historic African American communities. So the next steps, staff is currently trying to figure out the logistics of moving this property. We're currently researching the mechanics of moving a historic site and what kinds of transport and permits we may need when it comes to moving the structure. Staff is also trying to figure out the cost to move the house. Because the whole process is likely to be pretty expensive, we're trying to find grants and other funding opportunities to move the property. For example, one of the sources that we're currently looking into is the upcoming Virginia Department of Historic Resources BIPOC grants program. So, and then finally, in order to move the house, we have to have a location to move it to. So staff is currently brainstorming places that the house can be moved. Luckily, the house isn't as large as a lot of other historic properties that have been moved in the past, both inside and outside of county. So that hopefully will help in its favor. But as of right now, staff has thought about potentially looking at putting the property somewhere in Fairfax County Park Authority land or at somewhere at the David R. Pinn Community Center that was mentioned earlier. Discussion with these entities about the ability and desire to hold and maintain these properties will happen in the future. So that concludes our relatively short little presentation. Thank you all for the opportunity to present, and we look forward to hearing all of your comments and any feedback, advice, or ideas that you may have for us. And if you have any specific questions that we can't answer tonight, I'll pass them on to Grace, who will know more. This was kind of her baby. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Megan. I'm going to, per the motion that we just passed, I'm going to ask if there's anyone who's prepared to make a motion relative to this presentation. And if not, what is that? Sorry. Oh, Ann Stuntz, are you?
Mine was, there's just probably a few questions people might have.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask you to pause your questions in case, is there anyone who has a motion, just shout out that they do. All right. Hearing not, we will just proceed with our discussion as usual. So Ann, since I already called on you, go ahead.
Oh, I just have a question for Megan. Do you know the rough dimensions of the building? Because it does look really little.
It's quite little. If I remember correctly, I think it is about 547 square feet.
Yeah.
I compare everything to the little library in Vienna, which has been moved several times. And but it's only 20 feet by 20 feet. So that fits on a flatbed.
I remember I believe they're trying to have a setback of 10 feet on each side of the property. So I think it might be, I don't remember exactly how wide, but it's I think it's about 547 square feet. It's very tiny.
All right, Tammy.
Great presentation, Megan. Really, really did a good job of summarizing the whole situation. I would advocate strongly in favor of trying to move it to the Penn Center. I feel like that would be, keeping the cohesive history together. If those are the two last things representing the neighborhood, I would lobby very hard for that. And let us know, what kind of support you need in terms of assisting there. But I think it's a great building, and I hope it can be preserved.
Thank you, Tammy. Much appreciated.
Lynn?
Yes, thank you again, Megan. I have a couple of questions. Now, is this property in its original ownership? I believe this was part of the Jackson parcel that Burke Presbyterian Church was built upon. Isn't that not correct?
From what I understand, I don't believe it is. The house, from what I understand, was built in 1942 for the Goins. And the current owners actually who bought it, I think it was two and a half years ago, they acquired it from their daughter. So they're the second owners to ever own it beyond the family themselves. And she owned it after they passed, I think in the 90s, I think.
Well, the oral history that I have from this particular area of Zion includes Maria Jackson, who is a descendant of Jeremiah Jackson, who was an African-American freedman who owned an enormous swath of land that was then distributed to he and his wife Martha's 11 children. And I'm wondering if the Going somehow married into the Jacksons, because Maria and her mother Thelma, who actually grew up in the same area too, Thelma is now Thelma Smith, have told me that most of the property along Zion had originally belonged to the Jacksons. I think some of those records may be lost to time. I don't know. But that the people that attend that Zion church are direct descendants from Jeremiah Jackson. So that's why I'm wondering if there is some kind of overlap there. And I would not expect you to have that answer right now. I just want to put it on the table because I do not want it to get forgotten. I'm trying to work really hard with Burke Presbyterian Church to make sure that the Jackson family is remembered for a whole variety of different things. They did Jeremiah was quite an amazing person, and he and his wife had a very lovely family that, because they were both mixed, they were very proud that their offspring showed every shade of color that humanity could represent. And just kind of a neat story behind it. And I just have a funny feeling somehow the Goins are connected to that, or a family member is connected to that. That's all. That was commentary and a question.
No, that'd be interesting to hear if they were definitely, if you have that, send it on over. Grace and I will absolutely try to do what we can to look at it, because anything we can get on these sites that often don't have a lot of concrete, especially with oral history, will help fill in the blanks.
Yeah. Well, let's keep in touch on that because it's very precious land from my perspective.
Okay, Esther.
Thank you.
Esther.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Megan. I just wanted to know, how close is the property to the community center?
It's about a half mile.
Thank you.
Half mile up the road.
Mary.
I was called away on the phone call, so I don't know. Grace, did you mention the Little Bethel Church Cemetery on the Penn Center property?
No, I didn't mention it.
Yeah, there is a cemetery behind the community center.
Yes, yes, we
and-
did see that. Grace and I saw that when we went and visited.
Okay, all right, because I was just wondering if there would be even, with their parking lot and everything, whether they would even have 500 feet to put something
Yeah.
on. The whole community is a wonderful community, and I would reach out to the people in Greater Zion Baptist to contact Mary Goins' Roots family, because she was very active with that. And I know she's related to James Goins. It's just escaping me how it is. But she passed away a couple of years ago, but I believe her family members are still going to that church.
So Mary, you think that there's, and I think Lynn said this too, that there's a lot of descendants there that would have a stake in helping to save this?
That or Penn family.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of the community who's
Wonderful.
still living in that area. You walk into the David Penn Center, and almost any day you can bet I would say that you would meet a descendant of the Penns or the Roots, or excuse me, the Goins. Mary Goins' Roots is the lady that I met. So
Okay, wonderful. And I will say, Grace and I did visit the community center when we went to the site visit. And there's the parking lot, there's the cemetery, there's the community center, there's tennis courts, and there's basketball courts.
Right.
And there's I mean, there's a lot packed in one little area, but there are tiny sections of land that maybe they just need to be regraded to be used. Maybe, I don't know, we would have to talk to the community center about to what degree would they feel comfortable, either shifting the basketball courts or the tennis courts, or whether they care if they, bring this in instead of the courts if they're not used. We haven't reached out to them yet, but we did visit the site. So there's potentially room there depending on how talks with them go.
was quite an active after-school area for the kids to come to, the community center. And so I imagine those tennis courts and all are used. I don't know. I've only been there usually in the morning, so I haven't seen it in action after school, but I know it's very active. So.
Okay. Carol Herrick.
Oh, thank you. Megan, you said that a larger house did not want to be built in front of the existing house?
They would have to build their new house behind it. They wouldn't really be able to relocate it on the site. And they didn't want to build behind or in front of it. They want it off their property, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say you could move the house in back and put the larger house in front, but they don't want it on the property.
No, they really don't have the resources or the time to really maintain both properties.
Oh, you
and
did say that, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, they when they found out that it was historic, they had no idea that it was historic when they bought it. But when they found out, they were very interested and they were very happy to hear. But they feel that the county is better served at protecting it and doing with it what we can do, where they wouldn't know where to go, and they wouldn't want to have to spend the money to maintain it, unfortunately.
Gotcha, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. And do you have your hand up still, or is
Oh,
that
no,
I
mine-
mean,
Mine's just
I'm
loading.
raising mine again.
okay. Go ahead, Lynn.
Megan, we can talk a little bit more about this offline, but the Thelma Smith that I mentioned, I have done an oral history with her when I did a series of articles for Clifton, for her to be able to tell the story of what it was like to be, she attended 11 Oaks when it was the Julius Rosenwald School, and which is pretty amazing. She's an older gal, obviously, at least that's what I understand. But she also has indicated that that family that would have been part of this neighborhood that you're talking about intermarried with the Harris family of the Clifton area. So just kind of put that on your radar screen, and we can talk offline about making some connections here that might be helpful for you.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments? I am going to make a comment, Megan, which is that in Centerville, there's a historic building that is been integrated into the community center. Well, you know, not the community center, but it's actually an HOA, a thing. So it's a nice example of adaptive reuse. Are you familiar? I think it's Rose Hill.
I'm not familiar, but.
Okay, I'll try and look it up and send you that information, because that might be something, to share with the, the community center. All right, thank you so much for that. I'll also underscore Tammy's earlier comments about, please let us know if there's something in particular you want us to do,
My hand was up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who is this? Janae, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Okay.
I didn't see it. Sorry.
That's fine. I just wanted to alert you to something. I've been working with the African-American community that used to be in School Street area, which is just a few blocks from there. And there is a old, it was completely demolished and redeveloped in 1989 by eminent domain. The only thing that's left is the church across the street and then the market. So the market, I would love to see saved. And then I was thinking, as I was looking at that house, I thought, boy, that would be great. We could put it there on the parking lot. George Mason University has just gotten $1 million grant for Black Lives Next Door, where they're going to be doing additional research. It's right there. And there could be a center that could be put together with that house. And so the African Americans that I've been working with, frankly, don't completely trust other people to share their material with reason. But if they knew that they had an area that they could put up their pictures, talk about their world and what it was like. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up as a thought.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I think it would be really great.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk for sure. Definitely email Grace and I with any information you have, and we'll look into that. Definitely. We're looking for any ideas of where to move it.
So who do I send it to? Megan.
Grace.davenport@fairfaxcounty.gov.
Okay, thanks.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of really good leads here. Okay, Sue, did you just take your hand down?
Oh, I just wanted to find out more about that grant information, what the stipulations were, so that we could share that. Because sometimes the grant will allow something like, something larger, like helping get that building moved to that spot or something. So Janae, if you could share that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you. And again, thank you, Megan, for sharing this with us. And
of course, thank you all for all your help.
Okay, and our best wishes to Grace in terms of feeling better. All right, moving along to December meeting. It's me. So we often have, the tradition has been to have a Christmas party. We can do that virtually, as we have done for as we did last year. But I did want to open the floor for anybody who wished to make a motion to meet in person for the next meeting in December, to be able to have, to gather together in person in actual three dimensions. And we would, of course, what would be required to do that would be a location, a quorum. We would need a physical quorum present, but we could also have electronic participation by some members under our adopted remote meetings policy. So I just wanted to open the floor in case there was anybody who wanted to put that motion forward, or at least have that discussion.
I'll say I'm game. I'll go ahead and start a motion just so we can discuss it. I move that the History Commission have an in-person gathering in December for the purposes of conducting our meeting, I guess, and perhaps having a social gathering as well.
I
Second.
Oh,
I'll beat you to it.
All right, anybody want to discuss?
I'll go quickly first. You know, first of all, it's been a while since we've been together, and that will be that could be just very refreshing and fun. I was happy to see when I first met Subi yesterday officially that we are actually about the same size. We're both small people. So a lot of, you know, there's been a lot of missing information here. But the other thing is, and I mean this with just great pride and respect, it will be our last meeting with Barbara and Phyllis and with Mary. And I would like to be able to, you know, have us say some special words as they move on and do the other things that they are about to do.
Hear, hear.
Here, here.
Thank you,
Any
Lynn. That's
other-
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Yes.
By the way, I'm 6'4".
So you're not.
Barbara, you have your hand up.
Yes, I wanted to know, I had heard, you know, that maybe we could meet in the government center. Is that, because I wasn't sure the library had space for us, and is there any truth to that, or?
Right, so that's a good question to Laura. Can we do that within the time frame for December? To have
I'm gonna put that on my action item list to reach out to them first thing in the morning. It is dependent on whether or not the space is available, if the health department is still using it for flu shots, but I can certainly check and get back to you guys by the end of the week.
Great,
Okay.
Thank you.
And
there is a chunk of the government center that's still COVID and flu shot. So
yeah,
I hope,
Yeah.
I'll keep fingers crossed.
Yeah, we can, you know, alternatively meet in the library. That space is reserved for us. In fact, Elaine sent me an email this evening saying she had canceled our physical presence at the library for this evening. It's just a little bit awkward, but we could potentially make it work at least for one meeting if we had to. Any other comments or questions? Further discussion? Amy.
Cheryl, it's Amy. I just wanted to throw out there, if you can't find a spot at the government center, have you at James Lee Community Center in Falls Church.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So
if
Laura,
they're open
Kay, if
during.
you, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's for an evening meeting would not be a problem for them.
No, they're open till I think 10 p.m.
Okay, that would be an interesting alternative. We just have to make sure that we have proper connectivity for electronic participation by some members.
Yep, it's the building is wired. So Laura, if the government center doesn't work and the commissioners would like to do that, just reach out and I'll help you get that situated.
Thank you, Amy.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none. Anybody else? Just shout out if you have. If not, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Any abstentions?
Yes.
Okay. So we have the motion passes, 1 nay and 1 abstention. So we'll see you all in December. I do again want to emphasize that you can participate electronically. You don't have to attend the meeting if you have the specified in our remote meeting policy. Sorry, go ahead, Subi.
So that's December 7th, right?
That would be December 7th, yes. I believe so.
Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you. Moving along. It's time for committee reports. Okay. Elise, anything to update us on the budget or inventory?
The budget request didn't get in on time because I came down with COVID that week. And it sort of derailed my progress. I wasn't super sick, but I am just now getting over the exhaustion and finally feeling like I'm a real person who could do things. So my intention is to get the budget package to Cheryl next week so she can submit it in a more timely than we often get it in manner.
Yes.
Just a second. Alexa, turn on the lights. Oh, come on, Alexa. Lights on, not off. Anyway.
No.
Alexa, turn on the lights.
That's very Halloween-y, Elise.
I know. One of them was on a timer, and if I don't move enough in the room, it goes off. And that was the one I was really talking to. But in any event, in terms of getting budget information to the History Commission, I really haven't done any work on it. And I'm not going to promise anything until January. And I will get you a whole bunch of financial statements, and that will also make me be in a position to be ready to have the financial review that we're supposed to have, because I'm really not ready to do it yet.
Okay.
So my goal is January, basically, because the rest of November is looking busy. In terms of, that's everything for the budget. In terms of the inventory, things are still grinding along. Tammy is working with one of the nominators, and we'll probably have a meeting in December, perhaps. It all sort of depends, but things are still happening. And as I said, once again, I really haven't felt like a human being until this week.
All right. Well, thank you. Any questions for Elise?
No, but I have a comment to those who've had COVID here, and several of you have very recently. Please recover quickly.
Yeah, it is a rough sort of thing to deal with, because you do really feel exhausted. All right. Lynn, History Conference.
Okay, get your seatbelts on. I've got a lot to say. I know that surprises you. But I first of all want to begin with some big thank yous. My golly, so much work has gone into this this year. Cannot say enough for Valerie Bay and her Channel 16 crew. They have been patient and encouraging, and I actually owe her an email right now, but they are just fantastic. They will in fact be there on Saturday. A big thank you to Liz Crowell. 3 of our presenters came through her. So Liz, I did not see her initials on here tonight, so I don't know if she's with us or not, but that's a big thank you. In terms of managing finances this year, there were a few challenges, but I really appreciate how everybody, especially today, came together and we got stuff done today. And I'm very excited about that, because those Shamrock shortbread cookies came today and they're pretty yummy. Okay, so a lot of good things have happened there. I'm going to go through some bulleted items here. We have access to Stacy at 7:30 Saturday morning. So if you're planning to help set up, please try to be there then. Channel 16 has asked for extra early access at 6:30, which may have kind of messed up the cleanup crew that comes in at 5 o'clock. So a lot of activity will be going on there. Mike Irwin is going to take care of the registration table again. Some of you remember him, and he has done that task before. I have, for setup, I just want to make sure if you indeed are coming, rather than read names right now, just shoot me a quick email or text and let me know. I have retrieved the famous sandwich board from Subi, which is why we were able to connect yesterday. So that should be out at the street, as you all have remembered in the past. We should have the banner for the stage. And right now our numbers are looking pretty exciting. I got a list this evening from Cindy Jordan, and that list indicates 51 people. That does not include, Mary, I sent you a little note. I need the names of those students from West Springfield so we can add them in. I don't think I have them on this list. So I asked about that. One thing I really, really do need, and if you feel called to do this, please let me know. We need to have somebody take pictures. You know, it's been a while since we've met in person. And our picture takers in the past have been just delights. Many years ago, Jack Hiller was our photographer. Nancy Olds, who some of you may remember, she was very active in the roundtable. She was one of our photographers. Is anybody right now feel called to be taking pictures on Saturday that could just step up?
Lynn, I can do it until lunch. This is Subi.
Okay. You know what? If you could do that, that'd be great. We can have other folks fill in the afternoon, but the morning, especially the presentation of the awards, would be perfect. So let's get you front, down, and center to capture Jerry Connolly and be able to get Jeff McKay as well, which is a great. Okay, thank you so much for that, Subi. And then you can use your cell phone, and we can work offline about how to get those pictures to me. The awards are all done. Here's what an award is going to look like. I don't know if you can see this or not. I can't really do a screen share on this, but I can now kind of publicly say who the Lifetime Achievement Award is going to Debbie Robeson, and she does not know that is the award she's getting. She knows she's getting an award, and she's bringing her daughter and her son-in-law with her. So, but she'll have to leave early because her new grandson is having a pizza party at 1 o'clock, and he just turned 1. The capstone students, oh my Lord. First of all, AHI team, and those of you that worked with them on creating that database, that's another big thank you. These fellas are just precious. And so one little story, one of the fellas emailed me just today and said, my dad's going to bring me. Can my dad see me get the award? So, you know, I mean, we've touched the lives by being able to say thank you. And I think that's really the important piece of these awards, is being able to say thank you. Talked about Channel 16. We've got the food all squared away pretty much. Esther and I need to talk one more time about what's going on with Jason's Deli. There'll be German sandwiches from German Gourmet. We've got Old Shebane is bringing 2 trays of shepherd's pie. So we've definitely got the Irish and the German food covered. Esther's working with Jason's to make sure there's a kind of a Quaker and an African-American and an Italian presence in the food that they are all bringing. And of course, you all know that Jordan is very excited about bringing in those lox and bagels. The good news is we are way under what we had budgeted for food. So knowing that, and Esther and I have always been kind of sisters in crime on this, we're not going to do flowers in the center of the table necessarily this time. There may be one mum or something, but I've gone ahead and found a really good deal on different country flags, so that in the center of the table will be a flag for Italy, for Germany, for Israel, and for Ireland. And in that will be also a Commonwealth of Virginia flag and a United States flag. So as the next few years progress and we add in more ethnic groups and more people from different countries around the world, of which there are many, those centerpieces should continue to grow. And by the time we have the 20th conference, there should be some pretty amazing clarity about the presence that we have as a county. Okay, committee, help me. What else am I missing here? Let's see. Oh, if you've got, this is kind of an odd thing to ask, but if you have like serving utensils or big platters, the one thing that Jordan said he needed is that Main Street Deli is not giving him big platters for the bagels. So we'll need something to put them on. If you come early and you do plan on having an involvement with the food, I would encourage you to wear gloves. Not everything is going to be able to be completely glove protected, but you know, I think we do still need to be COVID aware that the tables will be set for 6 instead of 8. It won't be quite as tight as before. Barbara, is your hand up? I may have ignored you.
Sorry, I'm just thinking.
Okay, you're just thinking. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. And Esther and I are working on paper plates and cups and things like that in terms of Jason's. So let's see here. Channel 16. Asked you about PIC, Subi. Thank you for that. I think it'll be a very exciting day. Some of my close personal friends that I've known for a long time are going to be there, and I'm really happy they're taking advantage of this as Fairfax citizens. You'll meet a little friend of mine named Phoebe who wants to help set up. So if you meet a short little gal named Phoebe, please say thank you to her too.
Hey, Lynn, Lynn,
yes.
you may have
Yes,
gone over
Jordan.
before I arrived, but about the tax exempt form that I would be bringing to when I purchase the bagels.
Okay, can you get with Sue on that?
I
All
can
right.
send you one.
Yeah, if you could do
today.
it. So I'm gonna pay for them tomorrow. I need to pay for them tomorrow. So just
I'll
send me as
email
soon
it
as.
to you right now,
Yeah,
George.
thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So anyway, it will not be as robust a crowd as we are used to, but you know, it's our first gathering after COVID and life is going to be moving on. And I'm very happy to see some of the names I do see on here. I mean, we've got folks like Paul Hank, and we've got folks like Tammy Manarino, and we have, who else did I just see on here that I was really, really happy to see? Well, Steve Sherman's coming. That's wonderful. James Walkinshaw is on the list. I thought that was kind of exciting. Oh, Toady Carnes. That's who I was thinking about. So we've got a nice mix of people. And Sue, you and I will have to talk a little bit about this offline, but I got word tonight that some people have claimed they want to come, about 5 or 6 people, and they want to write a check at the door. So that's not what we usually do, but I think this year we'll try to make some exceptions. I think Esther's hand is up. What's going on, Esther?
Thank you, Lynn. Who should be the on-site contact for the food? That's what I need to give Jason's information about for the delivery. They usually come to that second door and deliver in the back. Is that the setup, the same setup we have?
Yes, the room is going to be essentially the same, not just as many small round tables. And we don't have as many exhibitors. I think we only have about 7 or 8
So I
exhibitors.
need a point of contact knowing that you'll be up front.
Yeah.
Who would be able to accept the food and whatever with Jason?
I could probably do that, Esther. This is Cheryl.
Oh, Cheryl, that'd be great. That's great.
you.
And Cheryl, thank you too. If you'll do that, that would be wonderful. You've been a big help the last 24 hours, especially in terms of trying to organize pickups. If you are setting up, the round tables get red tablecloths, the rectangular tables get navy, and that's all the choice I had at Party City. So, but I think it'll be just fine. Jerry will be there in person. Jeff will be there in person. David Meyer will be doing a welcome too, and Cheryl, you've been asked to do a little mini welcome as well. So
that's right. Yeah,
we'll do that at the front end. So I think that's about it. Esther, can you think of anything else?
Tammy has a hand up.
Yeah, I actually have a question, and Lynn, this
Sure.
is just terrific, and the whole committee, this is just terrific. I'm so excited that you guys are, trying to do this in person the best you can and making it a hybrid situation. Fantastic. There was something I should have called you about it, but you probably didn't need one more phone call. I just thought of last week, is it possible that that we could have a table for the History Commission display board and to put out our own inventory marker brochures, just to advertise ourselves?
Do it.
So
Yeah,
you-
do it. I know there's enough exhibitor tables around the room. We just added in a few up at the front to make that space in the back on the right-hand side when you first come in, all for channel 16. So that I believe there'll be some space up there. So
Okay,
just kind of
perfect.
plan on it.
Yeah, so I'll bring the exhibit boards and the brochures and just tell us where to be. That's great.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's where I would head if I were to give you advice right now, Tammy. Up, right hand of the stage. Those should be some tables over. That'd be kind of nice to have you front and center then, and then it'd be a good place for you to make an announcement about the reading of the book.
Perfect.
At a break.
That sounds wonderful.
Thank you
Yeah.
very
I
much.
can't
Yeah.
think of anything else, Lynn. I
Okay.
think you've done a marvelous job trying to hold it all together with all the pieces this year.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I've got one more piece to do, and that is this will be working on tomorrow. Everybody that's registered will get an email from me that will describe what's happening for the day, copies of the logos of all the different local history groups, references for the different immigrant populations, online links that we'll talk about that, presenter info, bios, things like that. That is my big chore for tomorrow, is to get that all complete and sent back out. And anybody that's registered then should have a copy of that. We like to do that. So, but through the years, and again, this is the last conference that Mary and Barbara and Phyllis will be at. Some of you may remember, long before we did things on the internet, we used to gather the Friday, the day before at the library, and we stuffed packets and we ordered pieces of paper and we put things together and we put little brochures around it, and each person that came had their own packet. I think one year we even put names on it. We got
Amen.
OCD about that. but anyway, we've had some, in the end, I would say some very happy, fun community building activity that's gone into the different history conferences. So for our 18th year, I feel pretty good about this conference too. All right, so you'll be hearing more about sowing those seeds.
Will we be able to determine how many people attend virtually?
No.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, that live stream has no link in. As I know, I can double check with Val in the morning, but I
think you're correct.
We ran into this over the when we did the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. A lot of people I know all over the country, because there were a lot of Delta Sigma ladies that watched all over the country. I don't think we will. But I'm also going by the fact that if we're coming in at about 60 and our usual numbers are close to 100, I'm guessing a good 30 people at home will probably be watching, 30 to 40. We certainly advertised it that way. And Sue, thank you for being, and the advocacy committee, Ann Barnes, or not Ann Barnes, Ann Stuntz, want to thank you and your team too for all the support you've given us this year. I think that has made a big difference. And Anne, I'm hoping you feel better. Anne is not feeling good. I don't think we're going to see her at the conference either.
Thanks, Anne.
Sure. So anyway, all right. I think that's it. If I think of anything else, I'll let you know. Yeah,
right.
Barbara.
Barbara Nath, go ahead.
Yes, could you just, at some point when you're welcoming everybody, suggest that those that are online just simply send you an email, send you something so we get a sense of who they are?
Okay.
Just include that with your remarks, and you may not hear all of them, but you'll hear some of them, and it gives us a sense. Okay?
Very good. Okay, so just an online check-in with an email.
Oh, just an email. We're here.
That's a great suggestion.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I'll work with Mike on the, there is a special email
that
that we use
address for the conference, not to you.
Yeah, and that address for the conference, oh, I think is it on here? Thought we had it on here. Yes, it's fchistoryconference@gmail.com.
Okay, just an idea, but it would give us a sense of how many people are coming.
Yeah, and we should know that. We should know that. That's great. Good idea.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, Lynn.
Mhm.
And I guess you included awards in that, or do you have any separate comments with regard to awards?
Yeah, I held up that award that we were given, and But though I didn't mention the other ones, Mike Salmon and a guy named Ian Eschenberg are getting the Mayo Stunts Award. And I feel kind of sad that Ian's not feeling well because I kind of wanted her to part of that. And Barbara and Mary and Phyllis, when we do the capstone piece, I'd like to have you come forward and say your personal thank you since you work so closely with those guys. Okay. There will be a lot of picture taking. So Subi, get ready for that. There's 6 capstone students. So it'll be them, Jerry Connolly and Jeff McKay. And then of course, if we've got Mary and Phyllis and Barbara involved, it's going to be kind of a big picture, but let's definitely try to capture that because we're making history in what you all have accomplished with that. Okay.
All right. And that's a good segue to Mary and Phyllis with regard to the African American History Inventory. Is there any updates for us on that?
I don't have any updates on it.
Okay.
And
Last thing we heard is that it was going to the county executive. The MOU was going to the county executive for signature. And that's the last thing we heard.
All right. Okay, thank you. Gretchen, semi-quincentennial.
Quincentennial. 2 things really. The Fairfax County Committee is working on forming committees and establishing a formal committee structure. And then we are working on a budget submission to the county for FY24 project funding. So small things, but we are plugging away.
All right, sounds good. Advocacy, Anne.
Well, we had a meeting last week and discussed some of the last events of the year that we've done. I think our next one's not till February, and that'll be Mount Vernon. I want to maybe you want to talk a little bit about the Tour de Mount Vernon in a minute, Tammy, just so people know how cool it was. But so the other events we've had are Centerville, and then it's been a really good summer and fall. So do keep an eye in your own districts for events that would be appropriate for us to go to, indoors or out. I mean, in a way, we kind of feel like we're not going to have any more for the winter, but there are events. There are events in big locations, venues where we could set up a table with you, and we'd be happy to do that. So the more we're out there, it's a lot of fun to contact the community like this. Tell us a little bit about Tour de Mount Vernon, Tammy, just quickly.
Oh, it was a great event, and I think Supervisor Stork's been doing this for about 4 or 5 years now, and it pairs really well with history. So, and I don't know, I think there is at least one other, maybe 2 other supervisors who do this in their district. It's basically a bike ride, 20 miles or 40 miles, your choice. And they lay out the route so that it goes by historic sites in the district. And so that's why I said it pairs really well with history. So there are a lot of cyclists who are interested in history. And, you can talk to people about the sites they either are about to ride by or that they have been riding by in the morning, including the historic roads that you may have. And so it was fun. There was a lot of interest, people coming over and wanting to talk to us. And I actually went on the bike ride. So I actually left the booth unmanned for a while, and people picked up brochures, but it was really nice to be able to point out things that people were seeing, and they had questions about what they were seeing along the road. So let's keep an eye out and see if there are other events like that. And for the other supervisors who do have the historic bike rides, let's take a look and see if we can take advantage of that, because it was a gorgeous day and just a great opportunity to talk to people. I think that's true of all of our events that we've done this fall, is just a lot of excitement from the community.
And great weather. We've had
Great weather. Yeah.
And
It's
Glenn
nice to be back
Fatzinger,
out
he
there.
was one other person I wanted to tell you is going to be there on Saturday. Some of you all remember Glenn Fatzinger.
Oh,
Nice
yeah,
to
yeah.
see him again.
Yeah, that was neat.
Advocacy.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Sorry, I forgot to ask that for Gretchen. If anybody has any those questions or comments, this is a good opportunity if you want. All right, moving along to markers and marker project and cemetery preservation. Mary, thank you for your written report. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it is online. I just want to welcome back Ann Barnes. It's so good to see you and welcome you back. We missed you.
Thank you.
History Commission marker report. We have had our first online submission for a marker. Wahoo! Okay. And the History Commission Marker Committee is meeting on Tuesday, November 15th at 7 p.m. That'll be via whatever Laura sets up for us. Anyway, and Bart Roby, who applied for the marker on Merrifield, will be attending too. I am working very hard with the West family to try and work with VDOT about getting a possible location outside of Bellhaven Country Club. The biggest thing is to get people to answer phones and return emails. So I'm working on that. Laura mentioned for the History Marker Project that letters are being sent out to property owners. Cemetery, there'll be a wreath laying ceremony planned for Germantown Cemetery on December 17th. We're talking to the family of the one at Sons and Daughters at the Pines. They've had a death in the family, so I'm waiting to hear back from them. Hoping to get an Eagle Scout project at that same cemetery before December. I got a request to help the people at Green Spring Farms to help locate the burials of the enslaved of the Moss family. I wasn't much help, but I tried to do what I could for helping them. And Amy, 3 cheers for your work at the cemeteries. I mean, she had a great crew in the ones that I was at. And we'll be scheduling a marker cleanup at the Pohick Church in the spring. And the consortium's next meeting is Monday, December 12th. And we're getting increased interest and questions from other localities that they're saying, you know, what is this consortium all about? So we're excited about that. And my report's on the share file.
All right. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments for Ann? I mean, for Mary.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Today has just been a fuzzy day for me. All right. Moving along to Esther, or Ethnic and Oral History. Any updates on that?
Thank you. No real update because the last meeting was on October 25th and we had a Teams meeting. There were a couple of people that joined me, so we didn't do any business. We just had a short discussion. And the next meeting is November the 29th. So I will be putting in a request to Laura for that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other? Sue, did you have your hand up or was that just a resting? Okay. All right. Bob, do you have any comments to add with regard to the resident curator program? Did Bob ever join us? Okay, I guess not. All right, then moving along. Anne, if you wanted to say anything about bylaws, but we haven't had any bylaws, actions, right?
I don't have anything to say about the bylaws. I would like to say something at the very end, though, but not about the bylaws. I don't have anything to report about that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button and exited.
Oh, there you are, Bob. Okay.
Yeah. And nothing further to report. Thanks.
Okay. It's good to know you're with us.
Yeah. Still with
Sometimes
me. I just hit the wrong button. Fat fingers. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I really muted myself.
And so Elise, ARB liaison.
You if you're looking at Cheryl's augmented agenda, you can see the report. As things have been very routine, so there's nothing really significant to report. If anybody has any questions about the specific projects, you can ask me. Thank you.
All right. And David, did David ever get a chance to join us? Okay, and I don't really have anything to report with regard to the website, except I did notice that Barbara is still listed as treasurer. I'll try and fix that. In which case, Anne, you said you had something that you wanted to share, so we'll go back to you.
Yes, if it's appropriate for me to say this right now, I would like to say to the members of the commission, thank you for sincerely for your thoughtful kindness at a time when it was deeply appreciated and gratefully acknowledged. That comes from the family of Edward C. Barnes, my husband, my late husband. Thank you all.
Well, thank you. It is really good to see you back, Anne. Thank you. All right. And at the very beginning, Lene did have a question, and I meant to come back to it when we were talking about the December meetings, but just as a general point of clarity, you know, as long as the state of emergency is in effect, we can meet wholly electronically. It's a matter of our choice to meet in December. My assumption is that we could, if the state of the emergency continues into January, that we could go back to meeting wholly electronically in January. And we're just waiting, you know, every so often it generates this information. Oh, they're about to lift it, and that gets us all worked up, but then they don't. So we're just waiting for that. And meanwhile, you know, my assumption is that the preference is to meet wholly electronically. If that isn't your preference, just let me know. And December will be a good exercise, good trial for a hybrid meeting. All right. Announcements. Anybody else have other announcements? I think somebody who has their hand up already. Mary?
Well, I was going to ask, do we bring food in December? That was one thing. Okay.
Yes.
The other thing is, if you haven't had a chance to get to the Freeman store to see the Virginia Changemakers, it is an incredible exhibit. And my husband and I spent about an hour there, and kudos to the people who put it together. They shut down for January, so now's the time to go see it. Okay.
We will put it back up. I mean, we're not going to take it down. We'll be closed in January and February, but anybody can always come and have a visit. That I will unlock the door for you and show you. You never have to wait for the Freeman store to be open, because I'll just pop down. And yeah, it is wonderful. Trailblazers, Vienna's trailblazers, African American trailblazers. It's fantastic. Thank you, Mary. I'm so glad you saw it.
Yeah,
that sounds really great. Anybody else have an announcement?
I have a.
Oh, sorry, Anne, you did have. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. Anne and then Lynn.
Yeah, I had a, what was mine? Oh, a plug for the Historical Society of Fairfax County. Our own Sue is president, and we need members. Lots of people have let it lapse in the last few years, like lots of organizations that weren't terribly active. But yeah, Sue's been having some good meetings, and we need lots of support. So join. There's a good website that tells you all about all the yearbooks and
Thank you, Anne. We actually have a meeting on December 5th, 2 days before the History Commission. It will be at the library meeting room, and that will be potluck. So I would love, if you aren't even interested in the Historical Society, to please just come and gather. And we will have some other Historical Society guests, please. We're trying to plan programs and bring people back, and we have some after this. So please come. Thanks. Thanks, Anne.
What time's that meeting, Sue?
7. Well, we're having like a very brief 7 o'clock, 7:15, So after that, we're having a very short presentation by Nicole Williamson, who did a history of the Oakton Schoolhouse, and then we're having our potluck. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you.
Tammy. Oh, no, sorry, Lynn. I apologize, Lynn. I didn't mean.
That's okay. That's all right. I
So
just
Lynn,
wanted to point out again that the Turning Point Suffragist Memorial is a wonderful place to visit on the weekends. I've had the privilege of taking a couple of wonderful groups through the memorial, most recently a group from Smith College, and we had a wonderful afternoon together, and they really, really appreciate it. Since the school was very steeped in the suffragist movement, they definitely appreciated that. And my sign-off advice for all of us tonight is to make sure to vote on Tuesday. Let's make history.
Tammy.
I wanted to report that the Mount Vernon Regional Historical Society had a successful meeting in October. We had Jeff Clark come. He was delayed because he was sick, but he came last week and talked to us about schools of the Mount Vernon district, which was excellent. And then in November, on the 29th, we have the annual meeting of the Mount Vernon Regional Historical Society, and we have another stellar speaker, Chris Barbashek, who is going to come talk about the history of McDonald's in Fairfax County. And since we had one of the very first in Hybla Valley, so that's going to be a great meeting as well. So, you know, ask if you Sally has more information on that too, so we can share that. And then I just wanted to report that I spoke to Friends of Historic Huntley over the weekend. It was a great annual meeting that they had, and I spoke on the name of Belvoir and the connection with Lewis Hurdle. And then I'm giving that talk again for the docents of Gunston Hall next week. So, but anyway, lots of good history. I love hearing about all of these, you know, good speakers that are going on. And I'm going to join the Fairfax County Historical Society. I'm not a member yet, so
Thank
sign me up.
And it was, I saw Tammy's presentation. It was excellent. Thank you, Tammy. Sue.
Oh, I just wanted to say that this past Sunday, I spoke about my Mantua book, and it was the very first time since 2019 that the City of Fairfax Regional Library had an in-person presentation, and we had about 23 people there. So it was pretty good, and Chris set things up for me. Yeah, I'm glad that the library is starting to open up and do that again. So that's all.
All right, thank you. Jordan? Jordan?
Hello. Okay, just real quickly, if anybody is tracking the Past Forward Conference of the National Trust, I will be delivering the introduction to the ACHP HUD Award sometime. I think it might be tomorrow. I'm not sure, maybe Friday. And then Friday, I am on a panel to talk about new developments and new ideas for the National Register of Historic Places, representing the Advisory Council. So,
interesting.
Yep.
It sounds intriguing. Mary, I think. Wait, Barbara, I didn't mean to overlook you, and then I'll come back to Mary if Mary.
All right. That's okay. I just wanted to let you all know, as you are aware, I am in the archaeology seat, and I've been very concerned and hopeful that we could find a successor to me. And the Board of Supervisors approved a young man named Kevin Bradley on Tuesday. He is a practicing archaeologist. I thank Liz Kroll and her crew, because I said you need to reach out into the professional archaeological community. And so he will begin on January 1st. So our advocacy for archaeology will continue. So I was very excited about that. So that's what I wanted to tell you.
All right, that is exciting. Thank you. So, Jordan, did you want to say something else, or?
No, just forgot to turn myself off.
I know, and I'm sorry, I don't necessarily always see the order in which these hands go up.
Yeah, no problem. My fault.
Anybody else have any comments to make or announcements to share? Steve, Sherman, do you have any? Don't want to ignore you because we can't see you. And Bob, similarly. All right. Sue, do you have?
No, I don't have anything. Thanks.
Okay.
Oh, I just forgot something that last month, both Lynn and Mary and I went to a George Mason University presentation. It was a historic marker of a Civil War redoubt. I'm sorry, Polish is the first language I mess up all the time. But the thing was, we really used that as an outreach opportunity, the three of us, and I think it worked really well. And it wasn't History Commission, but we took it and did something with it, and it was a lot of fun. I wasn't sure it would be. Oh, and Janae, who was there, is also, yes, Janae was there also. I'm sorry I forgot you, my friend.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, Janae, go ahead.
Realized I actually do have something to announce. I do tours for George Mason University, and I take them around Fairfax. We did do a tour the parents' weekend, so we got our 2 buses, and off I went. And John Murphy comes with me and goes in the other bus. So we had a good old time. But we always stop now at the Redoubt, because it's right there on George Mason campus, and it happens to be right where they park their cars. So it works out really, really well. So anyway, yeah, so we visit the 2 museums, and one day we'll get back into the courthouse. You never know, but
All right.
we at least could stand outside.
All right.
Thanks.
Excellent. Okay, anybody else have any other comment, any announcements rather? Just shout out. All right, hearing none, I think we can adjourn, even though it's only 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you all. Thank you.
Carol.
Appreciate your cooperation and your presence this evening. And I look forward to breaking bread and sharing some cookies and having a bit of a celebration in person in December. So thank you.
And on Saturday.
Oh, yes, and on Saturday, of course, right? Yes, the whole history conference. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Look forward to
See
seeing
you
everybody
sooner than
there on
that.
Saturday. Thank you.
Awesome. All
Good
right,
night,
good night,
commissioners. I
everyone.
cannot wait to meet you all.
See you there, Laura.
Everybody's 7 feet tall.
I am.
And very spelt, right? We're all
Yes.
yes.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Take care.